Okay, so again, this is the podcast breakdown of Buster Posey. We have kind of a pitch that's in, and I have another pitch that's low and away, and we'll be able to look at that one in a minute. But the best part about Posey, I remember reading something where he said, "Sometimes I hit my helmet with my bat as I'm bringing my hands through." And that's because he has the shortest approach to the ball you could find. So if we bring Posey to what, we call the short approach, all Epstein hitting guys, it's this position here where the chest starts to open. Notice how close that bat gets to his shoulder. Notice how close it gets to his neck. Notice how close it gets to his head. You cannot cover pitches in and keep them fair unless you do it. What's also cool about this swing is, a lot of people will do that and then they get tied up, right? They don't extend. But notice how he still gets his bat head out in front. He still gets his right elbow in front of his rib cage. Okay, his right elbow angle, if we look at it, is much bigger than 90 degrees. Okay, it's still at 113. That's typically where it is on most pitches, 110 to 120. But look at the catcher's mitt, right? I mean, this pitch is inside. I don't know how far in, I don't know if the catcher was set up outside and it ran in that much, so he had to reach in. But you could definitely tell that it's an inside pitch because of how close that bat stayed. What I love about what Posey does is he keeps that bat vertical for a really long time. Okay, you can see that barrel is straight up. His top hand here as he's rotating is facing forward. It's not facing the sky yet. Okay, he hasn't lost the barrel. The barrel's staying above his hands for a really long time. When does the barrel finally drop below his hands? Not until right here. Not until he gets that knob way out in front of his lead elbow. So it's just a fantastic, his hands are so good covering those pitches. Notice this angle between his forearms. Okay. 83 degrees. Notice how consistent it is. It's 83 degrees there. It's 83 degrees there. He doesn't have any manipulation happening with his back elbow, right? He's pulling with his lead arm. He's getting the knob out in front. Notice how still his head is. It's kind of creepy how still the head is, but it's great. And then if we look at this pitch plane, here's the ball here. Let's see if I can get a number on that. Such a great video because of the frame rate, the slow motion clarity. So it's a fastball, right? It's only dropping whatever, close 5 or 6 degrees. But again, look at his barrel. Where does his barrel go? Does it dump underneath that green line deep in the zone? No. He doesn't get his barrel to that line until his front shin. Okay, that's because you got to hit it out in front. If you let this ball travel, what's he going to do? He's going to get jammed. Okay, so you got to hit it out in front. Well, if you hit it out in front, the only way to do that is to come in a little bit steeper. And that's why if you teach players to throw the barrel or turn the barrel behind them, they're not going to be as consistent doing this, hitting balls out in front. And he launches this, it's like probably 8 degrees off the bat. It was a low line drive into left field, right? It wasn't, it wasn't an extra base hit, but it's just a solid swing. And look how long he's on that green line, okay? Pretty consistent. He could have barreled that up probably back here at his knee, definitely there, and then definitely out in front. So he's probably on plane on a pitch in for, roughly 20 inches or so, okay? And again, no wrist roll. He doesn't cover up his left wrist until really late. This is also a telltale sign that the pitch was inside. Look at where his right arm extends in the bat. See how that's down the left field line or foul? Okay, that oftentimes that's how you know where the pitch was. So I'm going to load in another swing here. So this is a low pitch, and I don't know what year this is, but I'm pretty sure this is an older, like he's younger in this video, okay? But if you bring him to toe touch and heel plant, it's as good as it gets, okay? So at heel plant, look at the depth of his front shoulder. Look at the bat. The barrel, middle of the barrel is kind of right over his head. The knob's facing back towards his catcher, okay? Notice this angle between his bat and his left forearm. Okay, it's really tight. Okay, that's going to create a ton of whip. But the key is with that angle between the bat and the forearm, so this guy right in here, okay, watch how he stores it because he doesn't throw the barrel away from his head, right? He's storing that energy as he pulls through. So see how he's pulling the knob down more towards his belt, towards his belly button? But as he's doing that, see how the barrel stays up? Meaning he's keeping this angle right in here between his forearm and his bat. Most people in this position, that barrel would be way out here outside of his shoulder on a low pitch. They would throw that barrel out, okay, or try to turn it behind him more. He's holding that right wrist angle. So again, we're looking at this pitch. Here's his approach position, again, when the bat's parallel to the pitch. It's still beautiful, okay? The knob is in front of his front elbow. The bat's, the barrel hasn't dropped below his hands yet. If we look at this pitch down here, pretty sure that's the pitch there. I mean, this pitch is, I don't even know if it's a strike. Yeah. I mean, it's like 10 degrees, so it's probably a breaking ball. But notice how he planes out. He doesn't plane out until his front ankle. And then watch how he extends his right arm and his hand through that plane. Do you know how hard it is to get on plane with a pitch that low, which is below his knees? Like, it's really hard. It's much easier to get on plane with high pitches. But low pitches, typically people will be on plane for like 2 or 3 inches. Notice how long his barrel's on plane for. Probably at least 14 to there before it comes off. So if you look at his power V here, this is why, you have to look at video and you can't teach the same swing to everybody on the same pitch. You can't just take dry swings off a tee all the time, right? You have to move the ball around and see how they're going to react. But if you look at his power V, it looks like he swung straight down here, right? His power V is facing the ground. His barrel is pointed towards the ground, somewhere between home plate and the pitcher's mound, okay? Yet, he swung up through the ball 10 degrees through the contact zone, okay? So it's a really cool swing to see how players adjust to low pitches, okay? And again, what's the adjustment? If you look at him at launch, he looks the same. He's pulling his hands down and forward. Now, the key to that is a lot of players pull their hands down right here, but they do that on all pitches. And then they have to pull the knob back up to their chest, and that creates a lot of problems. So what you're going to do, for instance, Thomas Johnson can do this because he's an Epstein Online Academy member, but I have videos in there about, hitting the low pitch and hitting the high pitch and what the adjustments are and what the hand path is. But that's exactly what he's doing here, okay? Like on a low pitch, your hands are going to have to end up here. On a high pitch, they're going to have to end up more at your letters. So the more efficient you can be getting to those areas from launch, okay? If he's going to go to a low pitch, it might be like this, okay? Or a medium pitch, and then a super low one might be like that. That's the key. But if you have downs and ups with those moves, if they're shallow like he's doing there, we're good. If they go down and up, it's not good, when you're reviewing video. So anyway, just a cool pitch to kind of look at. Since we looked at a pitch that was up and in, this is obviously a pitch that is low and away, looking at the catcher's mitt. Okay, it's not even a strike, but when you can hit, you can hit. So if you're going to copy one thing of Buster Posey, it's number one, his stride is so beautiful. Like, he's so stable with his right hip and his right knee and his right foot. And he has a little bit of a leg kick and a weight shift. So that's number one. Number two, his launch position is great, front shoulders down. And then number three is from launch to short approach. Whether it's a high pitch or a low pitch, that bat always stays really close to his head as he rotates. He keeps that top hand really vertical. And that's why he hits for a high average, and that's why his power numbers weren't huge. But his power numbers also weren't huge because he played in San Francisco. And that is not a good ballpark to hit. And he was a good right center field hitter. And you're not going to hit home runs to right center there in San Francisco. He also didn't, later in his career, the balls got really hard. Okay, but he was older and kind of beat up by then. So, for me, his swing could have been, built for more home runs. but it was definitely built for, you know, a high average kind of guy.